I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Rock bottom make a man and some pressure make a gemstone. Try to put $1 to my name like Creflo. Naja boy, late to the game, it's in the blood flow. And I'm from the south, it's thick skin and tough bone. Big attitude through big lips with gusto. Trust no kings, that's why they tried to crush souls. But it's IGBO, when the dust blow, this old head be standing there. No silver, just gold. Crack no books on the hustle, I was born to grind. Yo, I'm scared of your potential, I'm adorned with mine. 30 times around the sun, man, of course I shine. My legacy will not dwarf with time. And in my daughter's eyes, it's basic, I must not say quit. Every day sees a present like a Rob St. Nick. Walk a fine line between tenacious and patient. I can't slip, I'm fighting clocks and they can't win.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my wounds as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Impeccably I flow, hardest raps you know, breaking status quo, reaping what I sow, artistry like Django. Get it from my mama, hip so thick that I need tempo. Personality, spicy body banging like a bongo. Cause black women been it since Timbuktu, since Pharaoh. Sponge rollers and hot combs, lips, cheeks and brow bones. If you ain't for the culture, then please stay out of my zone. These little dummy rappers could never grace my headphones. See, I'm from a place in space where ain't no storytelling, you just had to have been there. If you want the battle, ain't no problem, say where. I got so much experience, I can't even play fair. But I'ma keep evolving and growing and hurting feelings and showing. You need endurance to go in. I got mileage on this pen. I've been busy cause I've been out here schooling all these kids. Took 3 decades to have this glow up that I did.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my wounds as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror? Oh, oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. Turn all of my
know you guys were checking shoes last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Austin.
Chloe, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh, you wanna get sued?
Judgment, Austin.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love him when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. And it's so good to be here with all of you guys tonight. Thank you all so much for joining the conversation. We have a lot to go over tonight. And I put together kind of another little compilation because Katie's statement video that Pascal put out was quite short, about 15 minutes. So when I was done editing it, it was probably maybe down to like about 10. So I wanted to kind of update everyone what we've been talking about. YouTube doesn't like it when I take all of these pieces and put them together, though, guys, because it's so shocking and it's so bad, right? That a lot of the advertisers don't want to put money towards it, right? Because of the content. So that tells us that what happened to Sebastian was absolutely horrific and awful, and so bad that, people want to act like, ooh, that stuff doesn't happen, right? But it obviously did. Um, so we're still going to go over it. Again, I don't want to offend anyone. Trigger warning, but I did want to show everyone what we've been talking about and then let Katie say her statement and then talk about it. So it's really difficult for me to get on board with any of what Katie is doing. So tonight's not going to be any different. But since we're going back and looking over this, which I didn't really cover this too much, um, but since we are now, I think it's important that we go over it, knowing that this was all happening at that time. And it played a big part in exposing Chris and Katie, even though they had already basically exposed themselves, if that makes sense. But I'm just going to shout everybody out tonight. Hey, Chuchi, thank you so much for being here, Chuchi and Little Miss Sharon. Good to see you, Little Miss Sharon. And Valley Gal is here. Good to see you, Valley Gal. And let's see, K9 Jules is here. Hey, Jules, good to see you. Well, thank you so much for being here. And she says the best intro. That's fun. That was funny. That's so funny because I know some people were griping about it. I'm like, I'm sorry, just fast forward through it. Um, I think it's just a fun one. It's old though. I should update the intro a little bit, but I do like showing I like the songs and the selection kind of thing. So I haven't grown tired of it just yet, and I'm glad that you guys love it. So thank you, Jules. And Cinderella is here. So good to see you, Cinderella. And hey, Witchy Mama. And let's see, we have Catherine here. Good to see you, Catherine. And Holly is here. And let's see, who else do we have? It's so good to see all you guys. And Cinderella is here, and Tracy with an E. Hello, Tracy with an E. And Marion, good to see you. And Ann Brock is here. So good to see you, Ann Brock. And Lori, good to see all of you guys. Welcome in, Dragon Tribe. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so major trigger warnings, right, guys? Because I mean, look, the advertisers don't even like this, and all I did was cut out, some of the main points. Um, I know the F bomb was dropped a couple of times, but I don't really think that they're worried about that as much as the content or the context of what we're going to be talking about, the subject matter. We'll just call it that. And hey, Bo, good to see you, Bo, in my PTSD. Hello, in Brown Eyed Girls, good to see you. And hey, Brenda, good to see you too. Aw, thanks for coming in, guys. And my PTSD is here. And Laura, good to see you, Laura. Awesome, guys. So, yeah, what I want to do is I want to read Katie's statement because I do like what Pascal had to say. So I wanted to put that in there also, and not just have him read it off for us and me show it to you guys. But I wanted his comments in there because he was speaking with Seth at the time, and I agree. I agreed then, and I agree now that Seth was at his breaking point at this point in the Sebastian Rogers investigation, right? Because at this point, it's April 5th. When he dropped the bombshell, it was April 3rd, right? So it took Katie a couple of days to come out with a statement, and she posted it to, I believe it was Facebook, because you could see her avatar for Facebook, and it does look like Facebook to me. Hey, Jilly, good to see you. Um, Yeah, I know, I know. Well, we won't have to worry about ads, Brenda. That's one positive thing. But it's sad because look, even though, and we talked about this last night too, even though it's hard to listen to for us, for the victims, depending on how they feel about their story getting out there, um, because we do have to consider that as well. I mean, they went through it. justice deserves to be served. And I think that's why Seth started saying things like that, because of everything he was learning through the process, right? Because we have to remember that by the time April 3rd rolled around, it was like we had already experienced Chris and Katie. You know, we saw the Duchess interview, we saw the Holly Thompson interview, we saw the Caitlin Miller interview, we saw them when they were on Fox and Friends. I don't think Katie came out on Reels just yet, but we also saw her come up on panel with Smiley. We knew Chris Proudfoot was up there with Terry Lynn right after that, like that very same night, which was awful, by the way, just the way that everyone was acting and that sort of thing. Um, so we have that piece. Then we have another Duchess interview, and I might be getting a little bit out of order, right? We had the Chronicles of Olivia interview. Don't want to forget that one. That one's really important. It's 20 minutes edited, right? But a lot of information. Um, and then now we're getting into the time. Oh, and also, let's not forget, Chris and Katie were going on, or excuse me, not Katie necessarily. I'm sure she might have been in the background, but that is also when Chris was going on Cluminati, right? And he did this had already happened with the different impressions of people, as well as the Sling Blade impression that did not have a very good impression, in the other definition of the word, on anyone. Like anybody that kind of understood what he was doing and caught on to it was like, what the hell? And it wasn't hard to catch on to, right? That it was deliberately funny to him, especially given the story. So we've had all of that. Let's also put into perspective that Seth has been searching for Sebastian. He can't find him. And Chris and Katie are not searching at all, right? Not one single bit have they searched. They have gone on panels, they've made fools out of themselves, they left in their RV, all of these things, right? And then they go on Nancy Grace. And we see them in their RV. So I would say at this point, Katie was asked to do one thing, and that was stay close to home, right? Don't leave in case Sebastian comes back. And she did the exact opposite of what she was asked to do. Very interesting. So, hello, Jilly. Good to see you. Oh, thank you, my PTSD, for gifting a Lady Freedom's Raw Narratives membership. That's so sweet of you. And if you got a membership, please say thank you to my PTSD and welcome to the Dragon Tribe. Thank you, PTSD. That's so sweet. Sebastian's story needs to be told until the perps are held accountable, in my opinion. I would say so. Typically, Brenda, um, I know it's not like 100% of people would want their story to be told, but I think with Sebastian's father being his voice, I do not judge him for that at all. Oh, awesome, Laura. Okay, great. Welcome to the Dragon Tribe, Laura. Thanks, Chuchi. So, yeah, I mean, there's that. What does the present mean? I'm not sure which one you're talking about, Miss. Oh, you mean the gifted membership? Like if somebody gives a membership, maybe? Hello, Angela. Good to see you. It is such a sad story. Angela, there are no updates. As far as I know, the last update that we received from law enforcement was when we went there to do the demonstration and the gathering for Sebastian, and they told us that they were waiting on one clue. And as a matter of fact, I saw the clip popped into my feed today. The one where they got me yelling, 2 years is too long. I'm yelling. But yeah, they were telling us that they were just waiting on one clue, one last clue, And that one last clue, I believe, is Sebastian. But they're not actively looking for him, in my opinion. They don't know where to look for him, in my opinion, you know? And it really does suck because here we are going back looking for clues. Where can we find what happened to Sebastian? I think a lot of things were overlooked because of the circus that was created by Chris and Katie. They want to get out there and put the toys on the counter and smile their little smug smiles while they took advantage, in my opinion, of ignorance and gullibility on the part of law enforcement. And I'm not saying that as I would never be ignorant to any subject myself, right? But they were ignorant to Sebastian's situation. They were relying on information from Katie and they took her word for it, unfortunately, in my opinion. And they didn't think twice about it. And they thought, okay, well, we want to help this mom, right? But the whole while, Katie's just sitting back laughing, like, oh, yeah, they're eating up everything I'm saying. They were still smiling. That's them in the background on the America's Most Wanted interview that they did at the Airbnb. I mean, talk about brazen. So, yeah, and I believe that's why they're not searching too, Marion. Why would they search for someone if they know what happened to them? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Holly. Thank you so much. You know, so, thank you, little Miss Sharon and Lori for the green hearts. Oh, the present box down below, you can send little things. Oh, to Lady. Okay, yeah. Oh, that box. Okay, that box. I didn't know. Thanks, Gigi. I didn't know which box that was. Um, yeah, absolutely. That's what they really do. I think they're waiting to find Sebastian, you know? And absolutely, Angela, thanks for being here. I think we all know what happened here. And the thing is that they haven't alerted other people, even Justin on TikTok or Justin the Nick of Crime. He uh, is now on YouTube. That's his name here now. Um, and we went over his interview with Seth, and he said the same thing. He said the same thing. Why wouldn't they be letting the public know, the community know that there was someone snatching up kids in the area? They obviously know that, and I've said the same thing myself, because you kind of have to come to that logical conclusion when you're thinking about, well, why wouldn't they be like fanatical, like, oh my gosh, guys, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your husband too. They're stealing people. There's body snatchers out here. They're just grabbing people up off the street, grabbing up kids, and that's not the case. I believe they know. Um, I do believe that they know. So, and they just don't have enough to prove it, or they're afraid to take a chance on trying to prosecute with not enough evidence. And what they really want to have is Sebastian back first. Although I don't see the effort, I don't see them putting any effort forth to do that, unfortunately. Hey, Kylie's Nail Candy, good to see you. And hey, Shadow. Hey, guys, welcome in. I know it is very shocking. It is, Angela. I believe Tony was having some health issues. And I think that, that really contributed. And also he was going through a lot of stress and things like that. So, but I never really did find out exactly why, or what happened. But I know he wasn't in the best health, which is so sad. Like, I mean, um, it's sad because we lost a really good person, and anybody that knew Tony, or some of you, that felt like, knew Tony too by watching him help with Sebastian's case. It's just a huge loss. It really is. And all the outpouring of all of Tony's, um, family and friends was amazing. So I know that was wonderful. And, people just so appreciated what Tony brought to the table. Hey, Stacy, good to see you. Thank you for being here. And hey, Laura Strobel, good to see you. And thank you for being a new subscriber. I appreciate you. So very interesting, guys. Yeah, he was a really good man. Yeah, Holly. And the good thing is he's shining down above us. So yeah, yeah, that's what I read in his obituary too, Angela. But I figured, I'm sure there was a specific thing. I do know that he went peacefully, and that um it's just so sad that Dana went in to wake him, up because she thought he slept in late, but he usually doesn't sleep in late, and he wasn't asleep. So, he had passed away, but yeah, just really, really sad. So, um, yeah, I mean, I think that, Tony really worked very, very hard to have a very good relationship with law enforcement. And he wanted to help with that because I know it's difficult. And again, Tony was trying to be a peacemaker between people. Um, and he was quite good at that. Again, knowing how to work with people is a big help with something like that. So what I want to do first is let Katie say her statement, right? And then we're going to watch the other video too. But I'm going to change over our background really quick and get that started because I have Jack and Lily in the corner on that one. So, but I wanted to put that one up there. Um, so when I move myself up, you guys won't see that. Let me go ahead. Okay. Yeah, I do have it pulled up. Okay. So this one's going to be Katie's full statement, but at first we'll listen in to what she tells Nancy. And let me make sure you guys are good to go with that. All right.
I'm going to throw this directly to Mr. and Mrs. Proudfoot. Much has been made. I'll ask you. You very often look away, don't look at who's asking you questions, show no emotion. Much has been made of that. And I'd like to hear your response. I'm not judging one way or the other. I'd like to hear your response.
So the fact of not looking at the camera all the time is because a picture of my son is sitting beside me, and I'm looking at him. As far as the crying thing, I have been crying off and on nonstop for a month.
Okay, guys. So this is Katie's full statement here. Like I said, I believe it is Facebook. So she starts out, she says, that child was not 13, and we did not allow my son to be abused. We contacted all authorities. My son received all the available help he could get, multiple therapists involved. His doctor did know because he went to the doctor and got checked immediately. Seth was involved in his therapy as well. There is so many lies in this story, including him failing to mention where Sebastian got banned from, or excuse me, sorry. There is so many lies in this story. This story, including him failing to mention where Seth got banned from the base for his violent tendencies, where at the time my son was seeing a psychiatrist and a psychologist, right? The difference would be a psychiatrist can write prescriptions, a psychologist does not, right? The PhD goes with the psychiatrist to help him with his trauma. from Seth's abuse and the trauma from being assaulted by this child. Let me be clear, I think it's sickening. Okay. And again, she's saying that Sebastian got the help he needed. He was living in California at the time, but did any of those therapies, I'm wondering, carry over because obviously they moved? Um, Katie says, I think it's sickening that this man is airing my son's trauma online. Now, this man is Sebastian's father. He's not random, but Katie does use this distancing language. My son deserves better than that. When we find him, and I believe in my heart we will, the truth will come out. He is doing his best to slander us as parents, but my son is loved and cared for and always will be. So he's being loved and cared for, and he always will be. That statement sticks out to me. Public opinion based on lies, assumptions, half truths is rampant because of things like this, which has not, excuse me, which has nothing to do with finding Sebastian. Okay. Um, I just find that to be really rich of Katie to talk about half truths and lies. So, and then also with the assumptions, because when they're telling us half truths and lies, we have to assume, right? Which is going to cause a lot of confusion, and it really has in Sebastian's case, in my opinion. So she says, this has nothing to do with finding Sebastian. I will not stoop so low as to partake in a back and forth argument with him, saying Seth, speaking about Seth. She says, God knows the truth and it always comes out. Please stop the madness and focus on finding Sebastian because that is the most important thing. Right. And this was, hot off the presses. It says like 7 hours ago, right here. All right. So I'm just going to let this play through and then we'll discuss.
What is your theory about where is Sebastian?
I wish I knew where he was, to be honest.
Your theory.
I think it's possible that someone has my son.
Why?
Because I feel like if he had been close to the house or had walked off, that we would found him by now with as many people as we had searching.
Have you checked his social media?
He doesn't have social media.
Okay, so he doesn't have social media, right? And then she goes over a bunch of other things. Hey, K9 Captain Jules, good to see ya. So again, I mean, Katie has exhausted, all of these options, right? When it comes to things that could have happened to Sebastian, every time we ask her something, he doesn't have that. That's not a thing. They check the phones, they check this, they check that. So very interesting. Now I believe Katie came out to gaslight the public, right? So Seth drops these bombs on April 3rd, 2024. Katie comes out with her statement on April 5th, 2024. And also, she's trying to get us to believe that she didn't have anything to do with any of this, and everything that Seth is saying is a lie, which I find to be very much lacking in accountability. So the very definition of gaslighting is it's a form of psychological manipulation that causes an individual to question their reality, memories, and perceptions, often leading to confusion and self-doubt, right? Because when someone is telling us that were to believe them over our own senses, right? The five senses that we have, um, it can be crazy making behavior, right? So it is a manipulation tactic where one person seeks to gain power and control over another by making them doubt their own thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. Now, I don't know if Katie came up with this statement herself or if Chris helped her write it, but it is so very toxic and narcissistic, right? That it very well could have been Chris and or Katie. I do believe that Katie has her own set of issues, right? Perhaps like histrionic kind of reminds me of an Amber Heard type of personality, in my opinion, right? And so they're notorious for doing things like this because they do want to gain the power and control. In this case, they're wanting to gain power and control over what we're thinking and feeling because they know that we're not on board. I can't talk tonight. Blah. You know that they're not on board, right? We're not all on the same page with things because it's just not right. Hey, Liberty. And it's psychological warfare. Exactly. Yeah. And especially to Seth, right? And especially distancing him and being like, that man, as if, um, Seth is some random dude, she treats Chris more like in a respectful role than she does Seth, which in my opinion, if your child has a parent that's alive and well, then they should be that go-to person for your child, not some, I get that there are good step parents out there, guys. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's odd to me that Katie glorifies stepfoot um when Sebastian has a good dad. So the term originates, right, from a 1938 play, right? It's called Gaslight. And I've showed you guys like the pictures. I've done thumbnails on this. Um, and there's been some film adaptations of it as well, right? And that's the one that I showed you guys, the film. So the husband manipulates his wife into believing she's losing her sanity by dimming the gas lights and denying it, right? And so these are the common things that you'll deal with. So denial. The gaslighter may deny events or conversations that have occurred, making the victim question their memory. That one right off the bat rings true with this situation, right? Because what happened when Sebastian was 7 or 8 and they were living in California. When they're telling this story, Sebastian is 15. So it happened a while back, and they're good at doing that kind of stuff. That's why when you deal with a personality like this, you often will save and document and keep everything. And I really suggest that you do, or you will kick yourself in the backside for not doing it. And you don't want to have to do that, right? So you save and you document everything, even if it's little. Okay. And this is the way you win over somebody like this because they can't deny it. So denial is the biggest one. Withholding. They may refuse to engage in conversations or pretend not to understand, leading the victim to feel confused and isolated, right? And so, again, it's a manipulation tactic to make you believe that you're the problem, right? And make you feel like you're alone. Isolation is a huge one that is used in order to play mind games on a person. We see it a lot in abuse situations. Trivializing is another thing that you're going to see. It's a common sign of gaslighting, and that's what Katie is precisely doing when she talks about what Sebastian endured, right? She absolutely trivializes the situation and minimizes it. The gaslighter belittles the victim's feelings or concerns, suggesting they are overreacting or being too sensitive, right? And she does that to Seth as well. Oh, you act like he wasn't getting the help that he needed. Yes, he did. Blah, 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 blah. Cue the word vomit. Grab the buckets. Brenda says they really underestimated Seth's response to this, in my opinion. Gaslighting and defensive tone is not serving them well, in my opinion. Not at all. Not at all. Hey, KJ, good to see ya. Yeah, not at all. And all this did was confirm what Seth was saying. By the way, Katie, if you're out there, right? That's all it did. And that's a point that Pascal will make later on, too. But he's spot on. Chuchi. Thank you. He's spot on. It's like you just instead of you think that you're telling us and making Seth and Sebastian look bad, but you're really just making yourself look bad and Chris too, because then, where was he? Also, you're gonna see diverting. The gaslighter might change the subject or question the victim's credibility, further underestimating their confidence, right? And so, again, they're going to divert the attention onto the other person, right? And that's what Katie's trying to do, saying, oh, well, Sebastian was abused by Seth. No, he wasn't. I don't believe that. The judge found that you were lying. You're lucky you didn't get in trouble. So, yeah, she does. She minimalized the thud. She did. She very much trivialized that and said, it was just a thud. Nancy asks her, well, what kind of noise was it? Just a thud. you know? But when it comes to Sebastian's behavior, it's just so terrible. Hey, Nisi, good to see you. You know? That's she catastrophizes anything that Seth or Sebastian does. But when it comes to them, she trivializes and minimizes it, And then there's something called countering. This involves questioning the victim's memory or perception, often by saying things like, "Are you sure about that?" Right? And so it's definitely making you second guess yourself. Are you sure about that? Yeah. Yeah, I'll say. Right? But I mean, maybe if somebody's questioning you on something like that, you might think to yourself, well, hold on, let me make sure, right? Because you start questioning your own perception. It's absolutely maddening. All right. So I think I mean, I don't know that we've experienced this to this level, but this is more of like when you're experiencing it with someone that, you actually care about. But with Katie, I mean, the victims will experience a lot of these horrible things, right? Like anxiety, confusion, diminished self-worth. I don't think that we've gone that far with it, but I mean, I know a lot of people will say, Lady Freedom, I had to take a break from this, right? Because it's so much and it's so sad that Sebastian had to go through this, guys. And it's not that I want to sit up here and bash Katie all night. That's not what this is for. It is just documenting the timeline of events, right? But at the end of the day, I can't feel sorry for Katie when we have Sebastian who's still missing over 2 years. I can't, with a straight face, get up here and say, well, we need to feel sorry for Katie. I would hope that you guys would throw tomatoes at me and wake me up because there's no reason for any of this to to have to be going on and on like this, right? Somebody knows something and somebody needs to come forward. Somebody needs to come forward with information. And so it really does screw with people's way of thinking. Um, some of this could apply, like where people become increasingly dependent on a gaslighter for validation, because I will say that with Chris and Katie's interviews, we would rather analyze those than look at Seth's, where he's telling us, true statements, and it's the same thing over and over, and consistencies, right? And we do look for inconsistencies. So, yeah, absolutely, Laura. Absolutely. You're welcome. And thank you guys for being here to listen. So, Little Miss Sharon says, yes, lady, that's exactly right about KP complaining about Seth and Sebastian, the crying, them crying, poor me and CP, right? Like, oh, you guys are just bashing us and bashing us. But it's like, we're not just bashing you and bashing you. Because believe me, I don't want to do that. And as much as I disagree with someone, I could always agree, have them up and Lori and and listen and hear them out. I mean, it's the same thing in Devlin's case, right? But because for me, I don't have a dog in the fight. I just want to help find whoever's missing. So, but you know, it's hard when people don't want to get along, and that's understandable. So no, there isn't any indication that she felt bad. Sammy, good to see you. No, and that's what I think we need to look at and examine and discuss it. But it isn't to like bash Katie, it isn't because again, I mean, what can we do to get her to tell the truth is really what I'm trying to figure out. What's it going to take? And so of course I'll just give you guys some ways because I know sometimes this is occurring in an intimate partner situation, or you might have family members or coworkers or even bosses. I mean, people are people who might try to do these tactics. So one thing is document your experiences, right? Keep a journal of events, conversations had, and all of that. Just document all the time. That's the number one. Talk to trusted friends and family, get some counseling. You got to establish boundaries, right? And so for us, the boundaries that we are establishing with Katie are clear boundaries, right? So we can protect our mental health. Because hearing about Sebastian and hearing what he had to go through and his under his mom's and his stepdad's watch, for Sebastian, thinking about it and putting ourselves in his shoes for just a minute. I know not everybody can do that. But if you can, please put yourself there. And he has people that he loves and looks up to, and those are uh, authority figures, right, who are supposed to be protecting him. But this is being allowed under their watch. And so his whole sense of safety and everything is shattered. Right? And then they're taking his trauma and using it against him and saying that he's going to become an offender because of something that happened to him. And in my opinion, that is so heartbreaking, and it should never be bestowed upon him because of what he went through, that people are going to look at him and say, well, you're going to reoffend. And if they think that, then they need to get him the help that he deserves. It's terrible. It's just absolutely adds insult to injury, right? So we have to establish those boundaries with Katie and say, no more. You're not going to sit here and lie to me when you're confirming what Seth has come out and said, but you're mad at him for coming out and saying it. So what you're really saying is you're upset with Seth for telling the truth. Well, that's just too damn bad, isn't it? And then get some professional help is another one too, but I kind of mentioned that earlier with the seek support. But yeah, you need people to validate your feelings when you're going through this crap. So this is why a lot of us get together and validate each other's feelings on this, right? Because here's the thing that's difficult is that there's been so much of this gaslighting, and people and the flying monkeys, they love to participate and facilitate platforms for people to gaslight. And then they all get together and do that. It's not okay for Sebastian. So yeah, exactly. Hall monitor, you got it. That aged well. Didn't CP dress up as the sheriff to mock Seth? He sure did. He sure did. Yep, I know. I know. Hey, Christmas Swan. In my opinion, if CP would let her talk, I think she would tell something. Yeah, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if she wouldn't just squawk like a stool pigeon, you know? Yeah, I think that they lawyered up very early on. And I know I watched something the other day and Crabtree was like, "Oh, you're crazy if you don't think Chris and Katie were separated and interrogated." And it's like, when? When did that happen? Because Ken Widener was over there having coffee at their house. He said he was heading over there after he did the interview with the news in front of this fire station. He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to go over and talk to the parents." Well, Seth wasn't there. We know that. That's the best thing you can do, Jules, is just document everything, you know? So, yeah, a lot of it is projection. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's just too bad for her, you know? I'm sorry, I can't feel bad. And we need to look back at these things, especially now that we know, you know? Katie did even want Sebastian's school papers, etc. Right. I know. Wait. Exactly. Good to see ya. Yeah, and it's sad. Hey, Scranton. It's sad because like a stool pigeon. I got pigeons on the brain today, K-Night Jules. I watched a documentary on these pigeon mafia. Don't ask, don't ask. Thank you, little Miss Sharon. Yeah, so let's watch the statements. I know YouTube does not like this compilation that I've made. And, to be honest with you, I don't either. This is not my favorite video content, right? I would like to put out, some content that, is uplifting from time to time, or, maybe even just some probative content. But this is sad to watch, but it is a compilation so people can kind of get up to speed on what we're talking about, since we are going back over kind of some of the Seth interviews. But I thought it would be fair, only fair, to put Katie's statement within this and discuss it as well. So, have I ever seen a baby pigeon? No. But the pigeons they were using for this thing, because they're super smart, they were really pretty, like they were multicolored pigeons. So I learned something about pigeons today. So Bo. No, I want to know more about this baby pigeon though. Okay, so I'm just gonna play this, intro part kind of through here. And again, if you guys want to watch this without commentary, I did upload a copy without, me speaking over it.
Now is the time to ask the Proudfoots any question that may shed light on what has happened to Sebastian. We are not in a judging arena. We are in a fact-finding arena. We can then assimilate the facts and make deductions. I want to go back to Katie Proudfoot. This is Sebastian's biological mother, Miss Proudfoot. What questions were you asked during your polygraph?
I was asked if I knew where my son was. I was asked if I hurt him. I was asked if I had hurt someone, among a few other questions.
And Mr. Proudfoot, you have volunteered to take a poly?
Yes, ma'am.
If I were to set up a poly for you, would you take it?
Name the place and time, ma'am. I'll be there.
I mean, my son got bit in the face by a dog, and he had to have 7 stitches in his face. And he still isn't scared of dogs. I mean, he's not scared of anything. Except for, I guess, his stepfather.
Aw, guys, that part just breaks my heart, you know? You guys got me cracking up with this pigeon stuff. Yeah, well, they're super smart, and they can absolutely fly like long distances and come back and do these do things. It's like organized bird crime. But I mean, I'm in true crime. I got to keep up with these birds. I didn't know that people were having birds do stuff. Yes, exactly, liar. I see you guys in the chat. I see you guys. Were you asked if you know where he is? Yeah, I mean, see, look, I was wondering the same thing, right? Because here's the thing, I've often wondered that if Katie did pass this polygraph, which maybe she did, then what questions were asked specifically? Because if she just handed Sebastian off and doesn't know where he is specifically, that could come up with a truthful answer when she does know where he is. So yeah, I wish she would have too. I know she's been harder on her panel guests than she was on Chris and Katie, bunch of bull poopy, you know? Definitely. Yeah, exactly. Pants on fire. Yeah. Yeah, Scranton. So, I mean, but yeah, Sebastian is fearless, pretty fearless when it comes to things. Um, still likes dogs even though he was scared of his step monster.
The shirt that you're wearing, can you show people that for a second?
When I found out afterwards, I mean, I found out after my son disappeared that he was scared of his stepfather. I mean, I've seen some of the podcasts where he has used the belt. I mean, if you think about I've been to the school, I've talked to the principal, I've talked to his teachers, I've talked to the SRO, and everybody is like, he's a wonderful kid. He's always happy here. He always wants to make sure, as the SRO told me, he saw him every day, and the SRO was like, it was the same thing every day with him. He would stop the SRO and be like, "How many tickets are you going to give the teacher today?" And
It's funny.
He's got a sense of humor, and everybody at the school was like, they're wanting him to come back. It's not just me. I mean, he has touched the lives of a lot of people. He has brought joy, his smile. I mean, his behavior, his demeanor.
I'm sorry. I know it's hard. Take your time.
Believe he's alive out there.
Yeah, I know you. Sorry, go ahead.
Just needs to be found. He needs to know that there are people in here, and I wish he would have told me. I wish he would have told me what was going on, because I wouldn't have let him go back there.
He might have been afraid to tell you because of what might have happened to him if he did. This is a man. Well, I'm gonna table the comment I was about to make.
I've got a question for you.
Yes,
I want to find out about Mr. Proudfoot hitting Sebastian with a belt. What happened?
That was actually several years ago, and it
To
was
Mr. Proudfoot. To Mr. Proudfoot. To Mr. Proudfoot.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Proudfoot, what happened?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I thought you were asking Katie.
Sebastian,
Sebastian
I thought you were
got in
asking
trouble.
me, Katie. What a jerk! What a jerk! Hey, Sasha, what a jerk! This guy. I mean, you knew she was talking to you. She said, "Mr. Proudfoot." Look at him, stoned to the bone.
What happened?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Misunderstood. I thought you were asking Katie.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me see.
Sebastian had gotten in trouble. He got caught lying, and I had asked him. I said, "Hey, you got to have a punishment for this."
I had asked him. I said, "Hey, you're going to have a punishment for this." Listen to his story, guys. He can't even get it straight. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. You were talking to Katie. Foghorn Leghorn is what I think of. Right? Oh, hold on. Whoa, hold on. Let me pull this one out of my ass for you. Bull crap, Chris. And he's sitting there and he's like trying to make us believe that he asked Sebastian and then told him, I have a punishment. You have to have, or excuse me, you have to have a punishment for this. Are you kidding me? We're expected to believe this mess. And then they get mad when we don't, you know? Still half baked. Brenda, I don't know if they were eating edibles or what. And again, if I was having to go on Nancy Grace, I might, smoke something, eat something too. I don't know. It's nerve-wracking, and I get that part. I do. I completely understand that part of it. So no shade there. But I mean, come on. And he can't even answer the question, right? He's like going into this nonsensical story that makes absolutely no sense. If a child's in trouble and you're disciplining them, you want them to learn their lesson, right? So you're going to tell them what's going to happen in order for them to have a punishment, right? Go through that punishment and for whatever it is. And I'm not here to tell anybody how to parent either, by the way. But I mean, say that the punishment is they're grounded, right? So you go in there, you say, okay, the punishment for you doing this action, right? This is your consequence to this action, right? You don't go in there and ask them anything, first of all, because who's the parent, Chris? Mr. Crispy? Come on. So yeah, the body language says a lot, Laura. It does. Now, Katie says it was several years ago when Chris said he wasn't very happy as a 15-year-old child on Smileys. Mind you, 15-year-old child, right, Lover Girl? Yeah, he sure did say that. Do they realize their lives are easy to spot since they're recorded? I know, and we've watched them several times, and we were watching them in sequence at the time, so we were just, like, catching them left and right, and I do know that Yada, even Katie's, on Katie's mother's side of the family, had come out saying that she was writing things down in a notebook. Because, again, they were gaslighting us to believe, and every time they were watching these interviews back or listening to what our feedback was, they were using it to manipulate us in the next interview. And they were doing that so much so that she was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to write this down, right? Document." So that's the first thing. Can't wait for Chris to get his punishment. Yeah, exactly. That would fit the crime. Yeah, the punishment has to fit the crime, right? Exactly. So again, it does not appear that this is actually what happened.
He gotten in trouble. He got caught lying, and I had asked him. I said, "Hey, you got to have a punishment for this." He says, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Okay." So I gave him a swat with a belt on his buttocks on the outside of his clothes. One swat.
What did he lie about?
I honestly don't remember at the time, but it was.
Oh, okay. Honestly, I don't remember at the time. Oh, you don't remember at the time? I thought you just told Smiley like a couple weeks before this that Sebastian got a whack on his butt because he wasn't wearing a belt. You asked him where his belt was, and then a whack kind of got him. And then he goes to school and he tells his teacher, right? Talking about the CPS report, or DCS is what it's called there, report. That's what you were telling Smiley about, and how that he went to school and he told his teacher, right? Because you messed that one up too, and that all of a sudden you're sitting down to eat dinner, and this lady comes to the house, right? But she recognized you from another time she was at the house. Remember that, Chris? Remember how you botched that whole friggin' story? It's very difficult to remember all of these lies. I will just say that in their defense.
Probably something dealing with school, because that's majority where his issues lie.
Okay, so the majority of Sebastian's issues lie at school, right? The majority of his issues lie at school. So it had to have been something to do with school. Look at Nancy's face. Can we all pause to just look at Nancy's face right now? She looks like she might need one of those vomit buckets.
Did he have other issues at school?
Some behavioral stuff, but nothing too crazy.
Some behavioral stuff, but nothing too crazy. And don't you think this might have been a good segue to tell Nancy that he was having so many issues at home and at school that you guys were thinking about sending him away to live at a facility? At what point in time do you think it would be a good time to mention that, Chris? You're being asked directly about the issues that Sebastian was facing and the things that he was doing and why you would ever want to beat him with a belt.
Kind of behavioral stuff.
He has a hard time. He's like awkwardly socially, like blending in with students.
So he's awkward socially, so that deserves a swat on the butt. All right. I just want to see where Chris's head's at here.
So it's a little. He's trying to figure out how to do it.
Right. So he's trying to figure out how to fit in socially, but he's awkward at it, right? He's trying to figure out how to do it. So that deserves to have someone get beat with a belt. Interesting.
But respecting people's space, he gets a little too close. And then.
So you're trying to teach him how to respect someone else's space, but you're taking your belt off of your ass and beating him with it. How is that teaching him to respect other people's space?
Kids don't really accept that too much, so it kind of causes an issue.
So he's not getting along with his peers, and it's not his fault. So you decide that the remedy for that would to take, again, your belt off of your pants and strike that child with it. Interesting.
But he'll not stop, and he continues on. So then it causes an issue, and instead of being honest about it, he'll lie. Like, no, I didn't. Okay, Sebastian.
Oh, okay, Sebastian. Oh, yeah, that's cute to you, huh, Chris? That's cute. Look at Katie. Look at her. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, exactly. He's an emotional punching bag, Brenda. You know? That is so sad that he sits there with that smug ass smile on his face. Little smirk. I'd like to just wipe it off. Right? Because there's nothing cute about that. So you just described Sebastian's having challenges and you taking off your belt and hitting him for it. And so you're telling Nancy that there was one incident where you swatted him with your belt up, on his buttocks, you fool, damn fool. Right? On his buttocks. You did that bit. And I know what you were trying to pull there. And you think it's cute. But you're saying that you did that to him because of his challenges that he's having, and then you're saying it was because he was lying and because he was doing this and because he was doing that. So how could you have beat him with the belt when she's asking you why you did that and you're giving multiple instances, yet you're saying it only happened one time? And look at him. Like, he thinks that was a good answer. What a putz.
Or lying about doing
Was
work.
that the first?
Oh, or lying about doing work. Katie, really? Was that another reason that you allowed for him to beat your son with the belt because he was lying about doing work? Oh, come on.
He'll lie. Like, no, I didn't. Okay, Sebastian.
Or lying about doing
Was
work.
that the first?
Oh, I wish that she would have let Katie say it, but you can hear it about lying about doing work. Sorry, I'm just going to go back just a little bit.
No, I didn't. Okay, Sebastian.
lying about doing
Was
work.
that the first time? Was that the first time you had ever hit him with a belt?
Yes, ma'am. The one and only time, actually.
Oh, the one and only time, actually. Right? And he says it very smug, you know, that little smirk, right? And he just says it, oh, so many red flag canine jewels. Oh my gosh, yes. And just watching their body language and then watching Nancy, right? That's why I kind of left her in this one because a lot of times I'll just crop it in to see them. But even watching her facial expressions is like you can see exactly what she's thinking, you know? No concern whatsoever. Yeah, very chilling in the interview, totally emotionless and void of concern for Sebastian. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Yeah. And, you know, he's saying that it was only once, but Katie also named another instance. So for lying, for lying about doing work, just lying in general, lying about doing work, and then also for being awkward socially, for getting in people's faces, that's about 4 or 5 times in different instances. Let's not forget what he told Smiley. It was because Sebastian wasn't wearing a belt that he got popped in the butt for not wearing a belt, right?
When was this?
Years ago, ma'am.
Any idea how many? 3, 10, 1?
It probably at least 3 years ago.
Yeah, why is that cute or funny?
I don't understand how that turned into a CPS or Child Protective Services complaint. How were they alerted that you hit him with a belt?
That did not turn into a CPS service call.
Look at Nancy. That did not turn into a CPS service call. What do you mean a service call? They're not there to service anything besides the child, I suppose. But that was very strange that he just told Smiley that that was the connection. So again, I think it's safe to say that Sebastian was definitely hurt by Chris multiple times with a belt or maybe anything handy. Because these are multiple instances where they're saying that Sebastian was uh, misbehaving and needed a punishment. And as Chris likes to say, the punishment has to fit the crime. I can't wait till that karma shows up.
I was good with joint physical, joint legal custody because I believe that a child needs both his mother and his father. When she started putting him on medication after medication, you know, this isn't doing enough. This isn't doing what I'm wanting. He's not going to sleep. He's bouncing over. Well, take him out. Take him swimming. Take him to the park and let him play. He's a child. He's got to have a way to get rid of all this energy. You can't just, you know, go to work and then come home and expect him to, you know, do what you want him to do. He's got to have an outlet for this stuff. He's growing. And medication isn't always, you know, it was just an uphill struggle. Yeah, happy he is with his snake.
How is he with strangers? Do you think that he would just leave with one if one approached him?
Just no. I don't think he would leave with one because he's apprehensive. I mean, taught him to be aware of your surroundings is what I was teaching him. But I've also taught him that not everybody is your friend. And I had to do that. There was an incident in California before Chris and Katie came back here. There was another CPS incident in California at her house. Katie and Chris let a child into their house that was 5 years older than my son. My son was 7 or 8 at the time, and this kid was 13. And she has a habit of not checking on her kid. I would never let some kid that's 5 years older than my son play with my son anyways. It's like, why do you want to play with my son? There's a 5-year difference. That's a pretty big difference. You're 13 and my son, you're a teenager. My son is not a teenager. He's still playing with Hot Wheels and Legos, and he's
All right, guys. So again, I believe that Seth is trying to be as nice and as delicate as possible with this. But what he's saying is that Katie has a habit of not checking on Sebastian. And then he's equating it to what happened when Sebastian was about 7 or 8 years old, where there was this older boy that was coming over to play and Katie wasn't checking on them. And this incident occurred, right? So, exactly. Nina said Faith saw CP hit Sebastian across the face. Exactly, little Miss Sharon. If he would do this to his own little baby daughter, a newborn, he would do it to Sebastian in a heartbeat and not think twice. That man is a ticking time bomb, in my opinion.
building things, he's playing video games, and you're a teenager. You go out and you have your own, age appropriate group that you play with, and they were letting this kid play with my son, and they weren't checking on him. And then this kid took my son's innocence and he molested him.
So you take your time.
And there was nothing I could do in California because the kid was 13. But they let that happen. And they didn't bother to try to even get my son help until last year. Here, my son is just turned 15 in December. It means he's been dealing with an emotional, stressful, traumatic incident for the last 7 years. And I've been trying to help him. I've been trying to get him help. Going to talk to his doctor and telling them what happened. And for the doctor to tell me, she was like, I knew none of this stuff. And I'm like, really? Because he's supposed to be seeing a therapist for this.
All right, guys. And, we talked about this earlier. Also, Katie is going to bring it up in her statement. And Seth is saying, the counselor that he was currently seeing, right? Not the one that maybe they got some help in California for, but Sebastian didn't get the help that he needed because the problems were persisting. Sometimes people can get into counseling and it works for them very, very well, and they go through all, these steps and different things. But it takes some people a little bit longer. It depends on how badly the traumatic event affected you, how traumatic it was for a person, and which I agree. Um, he's a time bomb, right? Look what he did to his exes. They're scared to do interviews to this day. Yeah, they absolutely are. They're afraid to do the interviews. Chris has stated that his mom talks to Rachel. I don't think that's true. And if it is, they're probably harassing her and telling her she better keep her mouth shut, in my opinion. We also heard from one of Terry Bowersox's coworkers who alleged that Terry would go after Chris's exes if they hurt Chris or crossed him in any way. So slashing of tires and all of that kind of stuff. Chris sticks very close, and I was saying this earlier too, in the live. He sticks close to his family, right? Like he took Nina back to Hendersonville, then they moved to Hendersonville or around the area. We'll just say that from California, because let's face it, things were not going very well there. Um, I do believe they were probably also waiting for divorces to finalize. I don't know where Nina and Chris got married, but I would guess it was in California if I can't. But we're gonna go over Nina's interview. I just wanted to I wanted to get into some of this other stuff that was important for us to know that was coming out about Sebastian as well. And again, Nina and Seth started speaking after Sebastian disappeared. So prior to that, to the best of my knowledge, he wasn't speaking to him. So, or excuse me, Seth was not speaking to Nina prior to Sebastian's disappearance.
And she's like, well, he's not seeing the right type of therapist for this type of trauma. I care about my son. And actions speak so much louder than words. And there's just no justification for the actions that I have seen from them. They're not parents. They're not parents at all. And I want to know what happened to my son.
You deserve to know what happened to your son. Every bit. And I'm sorry, I don't think any of us were aware of that. And I am so sorry that, number one, that he went through that, and two, that as a parent, you're going through a parent's worst nightmare, but that's like the second worst nightmare.
My son around his daughter. Because Chris has turned around into my mother told my mom, your grandson's a pedophile. No, he's not. He's a victim that hasn't got the help that he deserves and that he needs so that he can get over the traumatic incident that has happened to him.
Okay, so again, I want to point this out that, and I'll have to use our code word, but Seth is saying that Chris Proudfoot told his mom, Sebastian's grandma, Robin, that he thinks that her grandson is, Sebastian is a Chester cheetah, right? Because of what happened to him, that he was going to reoffend, which is very, in my opinion, cruel to do, not only to Sebastian but to Seth, and also saying that to Seth's mom, of all people. How disrespectful. And you think of a person like Chris, who doesn't even want his mother's name mentioned, even though there were 3 eyewitnesses, at the very least 3, that saw her at Warsham's the morning that Sebastian was reported missing. So just to kind of put that out there as well.
That should have never happened underneath their watch to begin with. That's why Chris doesn't want my son around his daughter. Because he's scared that my son is going to do the same thing that was done to him under his watch. And Chris Proudfoot, if you're listening to this, you can't hold that over my head. I told you. You're going to piss me the fuck off. And I don't give a fuck who knows. It's your fault. It's your and your wife's fault. You guys don't deserve to be around kids.
Game over.
Katie Proud.
Okay, guys, so that was a mic drop moment, right? And Detroit, as far as I know, they were both honorably discharged. So, I guess not. I'm sure if their superior officers knew about it, then maybe there would have been something. But I think that's again another reason why Katie probably got Seth banned from the base. If that is true, then that's probably why, right? So that way he wouldn't know that she was cheating with Chris, which he ultimately learned, you know. And I think that it is so sick, lover girl. It is so sick to say that about Sebastian. Just awful. Okay, so here we go with Pascal.
Proudfoot has slid into the group chat and has spoken out after Seth Rogers dropped these bombshell, heartbreaking details about a traumatic experience that Sebastian went through. It's been well over a month since this young man has been seen or heard from. Volunteers have been showing up, etc., trying to find this young man. His biological father, Seth Rogers, has been out there day in and day out trying to figure out the whereabouts and the truth on this case and this mysterious disappearance of this young man. But Katie Proudfoot did jump into the group chat and confirmed a lot of things, but she also was, taking shots at Seth. She has put out some serious allegations towards Seth that I hope she clarifies and hope that Seth can clarify those things as well. Let's take a look at this statement that she recently posted last night, to be exact. All right. So it says that child was not 13 and we did not allow my son to be aid. I got to use these code words. Okay, guys, from this point on, we contacted all authorities. Now, just so you guys know real quick, what Seth says and what he alleges is that there was a 13-year-old boy that did some unthinkable things to Sebastian, okay, while they were living out in California. And I guess this was during their divorce, okay? I just want to make that abundantly clear. They were going through a divorce. Chris Proudfoot was already a part of Katie's life, all right? They were living in an apartment, all right? And then I guess this unthinkable thing happened under Katie Proudfoot's supervision. I think that's really important to understand. Seth was nowhere near the situation, and then this thing happened. And then he found out later. He found out after the fact, okay, with this whole situation. So still very mind-blowing stuff. I can't believe this happened, but now she's clarifying things. And this also, by her clarifying things, that does confirm that this, what Seth said in this interview is true. Moving on, she says, my son received all the available help he could get. Multiple therapists involved. His doctor did know because he went to the doctor and got checked immediately. Seth was involved in his therapy as well. There are so many lies in this story, including him failing to mention where Seth got banned from the base for his violent tendencies, where at the time, my son was seeing a psychiatrist and psychologist to help him with his trauma from Seth's A and the trauma from being A'd by this child. Wow. Okay, that's some serious allegations right there. Let me be clear. I think it is sickening that this man is airing my son's trauma online. My son deserves better than that. Let me just say this really quick, okay? I have to respond back because I'm looking at this and I'm going, so where are you? Where you been? Where you been, girl? Where you been?
All right. So I see you guys showing love to Pascal in the chat. He's like, where you been? Where you at? Right? Yeah, guys. So I was definitely following this case because I was following Pascal with Riley Strain's case, right? And then people started talking about Sebastian in the chat, and I was like, oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Right? This young man from Hendersonville. And Liberty, I have heard this. So Liberty says, Lady, were you aware that on Wednesday, February 28th, Seth's mother arrived there and went to KP and KK's, sorry, CP and KK's house, and CP's mother started a fight with her. And then CP's mother called Sebastian a PDF to Seth's mom. Yeah, I had heard that before. You know, dealing with that family has to be one of the biggest challenges because they are absolutely vile and foul, right? For someone to say something like that is horrible. And we know how Cruella really feels about Katie's son. And we know how Melissa really feels about Katie's son. And Katie's fine with it, you know? And Bo, I would think so because I know he knew Tony before, Seth did. He like introduced them. So I would think he would. So if CP was so afraid of Sebastian doing something to Faith, why would he let KP around her if that's what he truly believes happens? That's a good question, Catherine. And there is no logic to the way that these people are acting, and it makes a lot of sense what you're saying, of course, to a regular person. Liberty says that was all done to get Seth and his family to leave that house so CP and others could traipse off um, to get the fifth wheel. Yeah, I think so too, because Seth was absolutely there like the first 3 days, and they did start a lot of crap, right? And Seth was trying. I think they were trying to get Seth to leave the first day with talking about the jewelry and not, showing any urgency or care or concern that Sebastian was missing. CB, thank you, actually called Sebastian a PDF to Seth's mom. Yeah, that's crazy. So, KK, where you been? Where have you been? So, good. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, and they do contradict themselves a lot in this, what's good for one person isn't good for the other person. So yeah, it's too bad.
It's really easy for you to sit here and get behind a QWERTY keyboard and put out this information and say how sickening it is that he's putting this information out there. But this man is at his wit's end. Where are you? Are you out there, boots on the ground? Are you out there looking for your son? Are you? No. You're behind a keyboard. You're taking vacations. You're jumping in RVs and leaving town. So it's fine to clarify things, but the judgment is unnecessary. It's unnecessary. If you were out there, boots on the ground, doing everything you can, that's a different story. But please miss me with this nonsense. Miss me with this nonsense saying this is sickening. This man is psychologically done. And he has been doing nothing but being nice to y'all, being respectful, and now it's a wrap. As soon as Chris Proudfoot decided not to do that lie detector test, okay, that polygraph, that says a lot, y'all. That says a lot. Your actions are speaking way louder than your words right now. That's all I'm going to say. Let's continue. Okay, my son deserves better than that. Sure. Your son deserves you guys getting out there. He deserves better than that from you guys. Okay, period. When we find him, and I believe in my heart we will, the truth will come out. He's doing his best to slander us as parents, but my son is loved and cared for and always will be. Like I said, where you been, girl? Where you been, Chris? That's all I'm asking. Where you at? Because you guys aren't out there pounding the pavement, looking around everything, looking in dark tunnels and looking in abandoned houses and stuff like that. Not at all. You guys are busy doing all kinds of other things like vacay. Okay? Public opinion based on lies, assumptions, half-truths is rampant because of things like this, which has nothing to do with finding Sebastian. Actually, the judgment, the half-truths, and all that, didn't all those things come from you guys? Didn't it all come from you guys? Okay. You guys are going on platforms and lying. Those things are all coming back and biting you in the ears. So I don't understand why you're sitting here putting this out here. It's you're basically describing yourself and the actions you've done on all these podcasts. Interesting. Let's continue. Wow. I will not stoop so low to partake in a back and forth argument with him. God knows the truth, and the truth always comes out. Please stop the madness and focus on finding Sebastian, because that is the most important thing. So, huh? Yeah, okay. Okay. I will not partake in a back and forth, yet you still put this out here, and everybody's reacting to it right now as we speak. So again, like I said, make that make sense. Listen, guys, this whole thing is absolutely heartbreaking. It's frustrating. We all want the same thing, okay? But the people that seem like they don't want what everybody else wants is in an RV traveling around or back home, whatever it may be, but they're not out in the public looking for their son or stepson. They're busy going out to Memphis and taking trips instead of actually giving a damn about the livelihood of their own blood. That's a big problem, guys.
Did you leave the home also, Miss Proudfoot?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
To accompany my husband going back to work, and then I'm coming back.
Okay, when will you be back? Do you know yet?
No, not yet.
Are you concerned about being away while the search is ongoing?
Absolutely, I am.
Then why are you going?
Because my son could be anywhere, and we're looking everywhere and anywhere.
I've got a question about the belt incident. You're telling me that was the only time that you ever hit Sebastian with a belt?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're also telling me that did not make it to CPS?
No, ma'am, that did not.
Okay, guys. So, those were just some text messages that we went over last night. I wanted to put them in the end of this video too, just to share them out, because we are going to go a little bit more in depth with that conversation as well, because we do know that Mayor Isbell is part of Duck Dynasty, right? And we know that Mayor Isbell is also part of the search efforts for Sebastian Rogers, but why? Right? It's kind of strange. But I want to show you guys Pascal's interview, and then we're going to go into Nina's. interview, but I want to kind of do like a mashup of sorry, let me put my avatar up here. I want to do kind of like a little mashup in terms of what was said on both um videos that we just kind of showed, because it is a longer interview, so I might have to do it in like two parts, and and just kind of let Seth say what he wants to say about it. But then it was also brought out onto court TV as well, so I might even pepper in some of that commentary or some of that just to kind of show what was going on at that time, because it's all about kind of what was going on at that time, and the information that was coming out about Sebastian Rogers was not good. Right. And and what they were saying, I mean, yeah, and Trevor was, in my opinion, trying to help the situation. But yeah, he said he did say that, Canine Jules. Yeah, he told you that Pascal JLR and Trev could suck start a pew pew. Oh Lord, that sounds so much better. But yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. Does that not yet mean when CP and Mama Suck say it's okay? Right. Well, and they're behind all of it, and I don't even know if they subbed information out or not. I really don't. To people or jobs to people. Again, they typically run together, but maybe they needed some extra help with this one. So, KJ says, I love that Nancy Grace foiled her plan to not answer whether or not she left her home. KK said, I'm not going back to work, not yet anyway. And she knew Nancy Grace was going to ask if she left the home. Yeah, she knew her game. Yeah, well, and the thing is, too, with that is, Katie had no reason whatsoever to take out with Chris in the camper. She just didn't. There's no reason for her to do that. If Chris is good enough to go back to work, then maybe she can be good enough to go back to work, right? But then again, maybe she would take a leave of absence and actually do what the police asked her to do, which was just to stay at home and wait to see if Sebastian came back. Because that was her big excuse, KJ, that like, oh, I can't. The law enforcement told me to stay at the house in case Sebastian comes back. Well, then why didn't you do just that? Why didn't you wait at the house in order to see if Sebastian would come back? It's just crazy to me. It really is. It's crazy that she just didn't do what they asked her to do. Instead, she takes out with Chris, and then she says to Nancy, "Yeah, I'm concerned that I'm gone when the search is going on, but my son can be anywhere, so we're looking everywhere." Which was like one of the worst, put your foot in your mouth or step in poop moments for anybody, right? Because we all called BS on that. We all knew she was lying. Everybody knew that that wasn't the reason. Everybody knew that it wasn't the reason that she was being threatened or anything like that. Again, she works for Brink's Home Security. So maybe it's a good time to install some security cameras. I believe they already had cameras to begin with. So, yeah, they selectively listened to law enforcement. Exactly. I wonder if CP is everything KP wants now. Yeah, I wonder that too. I wonder that too. You know? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I really wanted her to get them, which I really did. I was like, go get them, Nancy. But, who knows what stipulations were placed on this interview? And Chris and Katie were doing that in the very beginning too, because Seth went on Nancy Grace. What was it? It was March 20th, I believe. He did the interview first, and even in Smiley Story's interview, they were asking Katie, they were saying, basically they were asking Chris and Katie actually, um, whether it was the audience or just Smiley inquiring, but are you going to be going on Nancy Grace? Right? Why wouldn't they join Seth on Nancy Grace? And then they said they weren't asked to go, which I highly doubt that because I think Nancy wanted to talk to them, you know? Yeah, he also did say that as well. Yeah, that he was going to upgrade. Yeah. He told me upgrade the security system. Right. Right. But, what good is a security system if you're not home unless you have expensive boats and stuff and trucks like the neighbor has? That's why they had that camera pointing over there. So they listened to law enforcement about the polygraph recommendations per CP, but not the recommendations to stay home in case Sebastian came home. Hmm. Right. Exactly. And it's selective, and then they also were mentioning around this time, it's okay, Witchy, me too. But it's here's the thing, it's like, you know, they're following only certain or only the ones that they see fit, but then they're also at that time saying, we're telling law enforcement where we are at all times and they're well aware of where we are and we've asked them if we could leave and blah blah blah. Right? But we don't know if that's true. It could be. And I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I think that if they asked law enforcement if they could leave, law enforcement would tell them, well, you're not under arrest or on any kind of stipulations to the court. So, we can't tell you what you can and can't do. Right? So, I mean, that right there, in my opinion, is another bunch of BS. So, um, it's just one lie after another. And again, we're starting to realize that Chris and Katie's relationship is not um in the best shape, right? As we're moving through all of this. And the same thing goes for Katie and Seth and Chris, right? Because what they told Holly Thompson was that they have a great relationship with Seth, that Chris himself said that he was almost always in contact with him almost daily, right? So there's that, which we kind of know that that's not true. But it does appear that Seth, from what he said, is that he would rather talk with Chris because there was less animosity with Chris. And so they would communicate about Sebastian's needs or things that were coming about with Sebastian. Right. So I think that is another interesting piece to all of this because, of course, it does speak to what the dynamic was. So obviously, we know that they were corresponding through emails and sending emails back and forth when it pertained to these schools. But it does appear that they were doing a lot of things behind Seth's back and not telling him what was going on in their household, which again, I don't know that I can completely fault them for that because it is their prerogative whether they tell what's going on in their house um or not, right? But I think it does fall on Katie's back that she needed to be the one that was stepping up, even if it was an awkward conversation or even if it led to an argument or a disagreement. She needed to be telling Seth what was happening, especially once DCS intervened. So, aloha JH. No. So Katie came out to make a statement regarding the abuse that Sebastian suffered in California. And so we were going over that, but it's good to see you, JH. So we're going back to the beginning. I mean, it falls on her shoulders. It does. It does fall on her shoulders, Canine Jules. Yeah. Yeah, they go on the road all the time now. Well, and we also learned from Seth telling Pascal in the very beginning that typically Katie would go see Chris when Sebastian was with Seth on his weekend. So when he would be over at his house, then Katie would go to see Chris in Memphis. But then the weekends that the weekends that Sebastian and Katie were at the house and it was not Seth's weekend, then Chris would stay in Memphis. So, yeah, JH, I've never gone over Seth's interviews in order and sequence the way I have with Chris and Katie's. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with that. Seth has said a lot of things that were consistent. And so, I kind of just listened in and considered what he was saying and things like that. And it did seem to make sense and add up for me. But I think it's important for us to go back and examine that and look at that and see what was being said. And also, there were a lot of things that I forgot about that Seth had said because I'd only watched the interview maybe once or twice, never reviewed it really. So, but we're going back to the beginning. So, and it could have been pineapple trips. It really could have been. Um, so yeah, I mean, it absolutely, they absolutely could have been doing things that they, um, shouldn't have been doing. So, it's just one of those things that it's hard to know with those two because there's been a lot of rumors about what they have and haven't done with who and what and all of that. So I mean, just um, a lot to that, and I think again, it's just important for us to go back and look and listen. So I do want to show you guys again. I'll be working on the Pascal um follow up to this, right? So on April 5th, 2024, Pascal comes out and does like this quick video that I showed you guys that I edited out some of it. And then he has plans to have Seth on later that night. And so that's the interview that we're going to go over next. And then we'll be going over Nina's interview as well. So these next videos are going to be kind of a little bit longer. But again, I might break it down a little bit for us too. So, but again, I just want everybody to kind of keep in mind as we're going all the way back, that there were many, many things that were happening in the Proudfoot residence, right? And not only that, that it was just getting worse, progressively worse and worse and worse. It wasn't anything that was going to get better because in my opinion they were focusing in only on Sebastian's issues and not looking at the fact that they had their own set of issues, right? So again, they wanted Sebastian out of the house. Come the fall of 2023, they were ready for Sebastian to go and live somewhere else completely. Right? And go to a facility for troubled teens, troubled youth, right? Not necessarily for his chromosome deletion or autism, but just for youth, troubled youth. So, well, that's what I said too. I don't care who's banging who. That's what I said, Witchy. Witchy says, honestly, I don't give a flying fig tree who they sleep with or pineapple with. It's smoke and mirrors and a distraction. I care about Sebastian. I agree. The only thing that I can think of that maybe has some sort of weight with that would be the Chris Carr situation. Like if they were boning, then, maybe he did help her out, but that's the only thing I can think of. But I do remember when, that one lady was coming in chat to chat and saying that she met Chris on a dating website. I don't believe it. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Blacklisted. Do you think she broke it to him the Last Supper? Yeah, I think that she did tell him something. Blacklisted, I did. Or excuse me, I do think so, because when we were going over it and looking, it did appear that Sebastian was being told something that he didn't want to be told, and then he was also doing things like shrugging his shoulders like, I don't know, and then at one point he, shook his head no. It's so hard to know what they were saying, but I do think, if I'm just being honest, that Sebastian was being told and scolded and, made to do something that he really didn't want to do. And I think it could be very well, be that Katie was saying, "Hey, you're going to go someplace," right? And I think that Sebastian knew, KJ, I think that Sebastian knew that they wanted to get rid of him, so to speak, right? Like, he was saying things like, "I don't think mom and Mr. Chris like me very much." And even though he wasn't telling Seth specifically, he was kind of hinting around to us to some things. But again, it's very hard to tell, when there's a divorce situation and a, kid that's older. Even little kids know how to manipulate, and they could say, "Well, I didn't like the way mommy told me I couldn't do this, and so I like daddy's better," and vice versa. So I think a lot of that could really have been something where Seth kind of minimized it himself, not realizing that Sebastian was saying it, because things were so bad. Nobody could really even imagine how bad things were, So I'm thinking she said Seth was on board too. Yeah, I know. Well, exactly. And he was disappointed, right? Which that's a good word too. You could 100% see the you could 100% see the disappointment in his face. Yeah. Yeah, and maybe, and that's a thing too. He could have been brainwashed into thinking that this was, a group effort, so to speak. Everybody was on board, right? Everybody was on the same page. We finally found a spot for you to go. You've been bad lately. You've been doing this, um so right. Yeah, I could see her doing it too in public, so maybe it would deter a meltdown or something like that perhaps. But also, I think just based on the body language of both parties, right? If I look at Katie, if I look at Sebastian, I mean, I can definitely see that she's telling him something, you know? You'd be surprised my so-called mother told me so many things about life at the country kitchen. Yeah, well, I mean, and I grew up in restaurants and stuff too, and it's like it's just, um it might be easier to have talks like that and things. It's weird though, she wasn't talking to him the whole time, kind of being more like dismissive of him, but then also taking those weird pictures. And then all of a sudden, when it came time to eat, that's when she was really, you know, breaking the news, I think. Catherine says it could be nice of like a breakup, do it in a public place. Yeah, so there wouldn't be a scene. Exactly. Yeah, Catherine. And I don't know, you know, again, what type of medications were given here, if Sebastian was, given some medications that would calm him down a little bit, and that's why he seemed like he was a little bit more pliable. We just don't know. We just do not know. Um so thank you, Chuchi. Aw, thank you so much. Yeah, guys, I have the new merch store up, so you just go to the store tab um on the channel. Yeah, it is very frustrating, Blacklisted. It is. It is. And I think a lot of it too, there was just so much going on that we've never really even had a chance to kind of build out any sort of a factual timeline, just because so much stuff was coming out. So I was hoping we could really get everybody's statements together and maybe figure something out here, because it's just been too long. So yeah. Exactly. She is a piece of work, Cinderella. I wondered if she was asking him if he washed his hands. Oh, from coming back from the bathroom. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe so. She wouldn't I didn't see him get to eat that roll even. If that's the case, he was very alert to his surroundings when medicated. Yeah, did she do that often? Right. Well, that's a good question. He was very alert. I will say that too, Witchy, and again, the public setting could have been, something where, you know, he didn't want to make a scene, right? He knew better than to make a scene, and so that's why she had, decided to break it to him there. I know. I don't know. There's just got to be something more to it that we're not seeing. Um and again, I do believe their story to be scripted. So it's difficult for me when I'm thinking back about their story because the only things that we can really verify is what, the instances or situations, places they went where they were caught on camera. And we can verify that information, but there's a lot of time where we have a couple hours here and there that are unaccounted for. We can safely say, obviously, that according to law enforcement, the last proof of life that they have is Sebastian getting into his mother's blue Infinity SUV and driving out of the Texas Roadhouse parking lot. After that, we just don't know. So we know that at 6:25 p.m. on Sunday, February 25th, 2024, Sebastian was alive and well getting into the car. And then we really don't know what happened after that. It's alleged that Katie went straight home, didn't make any stops, right? Didn't make any stops. And then Sebastian, 15 minutes after arriving home, took the trash out. She said then he went to his room to play, and around 9 o'clock, he came out and said, "Good night, mama," and "Good night, puppies," and then went to bed. About an hour later, there was a noise that Katie described as a thud. Law enforcement described it as a bang. We know that Sebastian left behind his money, his wallet, his shoes, according to his mother, Katie, his Nintendo Switch, his cell phone. Did I say that one? All of those items were left behind. He didn't take anything. He didn't pack a bag. He didn't take a coat. He didn't take his brand new boots that his father bought him. Nothing. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Nisi says, "Is it true that when he went to the Texas Roadhouse, he had his hands over his ears because it was loud music? Then when he came out and his hands were in his pockets, I wonder what calmed him down." Yeah, I mean, I was wondering the same thing too, whether it was the music or maybe something that was going on in the vehicle, because he did do that now. It was just as busy and just as loud when they left. So that's a good point. That is a really good point, Nisi. Yeah. Right, because they have been so honest about everything else in the timeline. Yeah, the only thing that we can verify really is what they were caught on camera doing. That's it. That's all. Unfortunately, I wish we had more than that. But again, we don't even have a straight story on what happened at 10 o'clock. And then Katie says that she was on the phone with Chris and she's doing multiple activities and also telling, Sebastian he better be, get to bed. And then she says she goes to bed at 12 o'clock, but her lights are on. Right. And then she said she wakes up and she's looking for Sebastian, but her windows are rolled up and she's driving too fast to be looking for anybody. All of these things together do not add up one bit. And we're expected to believe this to be the truth, and we're expected to use it as a roadmap to find Sebastian, yet we can't verify any of this information. We don't even know if Sebastian made it home or not. And anybody that says they do, they're lying. Right? There's no proof of it. There's no evidence he left the house, is what law enforcement said. Right? I mean, we know that he left the house on Sunday because he went to the Texas Roadhouse at least, and we saw him leaving from there. But other than that, we just don't know, you know? So, but I'll be working on getting that together for you guys. As we're coming up on my little vacation time coming up. So, but yeah, we're just going to continue on with these interviews in this time frame and focus in on that. And again, I'm working on getting some timeline topics to discuss for the war room, so look out for that as well. And we'll get a playlist going for all of that. So, um, when they first talked, yeah. Oh, good night, Chuchi. Yeah, when they first talked, KJ, they did. Yeah, they told she told Duchess she fell asleep at 10 because Duchess said, and then you fell asleep at 10, and she's like, yeah, and then that's when we heard Mr. Chris come out with his crystal clear. Let me get this crystal clear for you. Let me help you out. Well, we shouldn't need any help. And Katie certainly shouldn't need any help if she's being honest. So, anyway, I love you guys very much. Thank you all for going over this subject with me again. It's very tough discussing these subjects with what happened to Sebastian, but we have to keep it as a part of what may have contributed to him going missing, right? Why he was reported missing on Monday, February 26th, 2024. And now here we are, the 1st of May, 2026, and we still are no closer to finding Sebastian. We need to really put our heads together. So, thank you, Witchy. Thank you so much. You guys are so awesome. And I'll make sure I get caught up in the Discord too. And anybody that got a new membership or that becomes a new member, just remember we do have the Discord. It is a fun place where we just kind of, joke around and share links to different things and current events and things that are happening in true crime. And then we have the more serious one that is the war room for Sebastian Rogers. So again, when you hear me talking about that, it's just, thank you, Bo. And, it's just talking about how we're really getting down to a good basic timeline. And of course, we do share it here as we go along too. But anybody that's serious about talking about topics, or if you're very passionate about Sebastian's case and you want to, discuss all of this in depth, definitely join that. Thank you, Detroit. Thank you. And you guys all have a great rest of your night, and I will see you all next time.